I'm Sid Fisher, a student who was in the third room shot into by a murderer in the recent school shooting. Ask me anything. Hi everyone, my name is Sid. I'm a junior at Stoneman Douglas and I'd like to share my story of what went on in room 1214, the third room that was shot into by the shooter, and where two victims, Nick Dworat and Helena Ramsey, were killed. 2:20 p.m. We are working on the laptops doing an online activity when we hear about 10 to 15 gunshots outside of our door. Everyone scatters and from about 25 kids, two groups were split in different corners. I was in the corner that is immediately to the right of the entrance. Nick was in the back right corner that could be immediately seen from the entrance. The group with Nick and Helena were trying to form a barricade with a cabinet and a computer cart, one that holds laptops and charges them, but without even 20 seconds to react, the shooter comes to our door and starts shooting through the window of the door. He was shooting at the corner that Nick and Helena were in as well as about 12 other students with them in that corner. Nick got caught in the fire and died immediately. Helena also got caught and died within seconds. I was in the opposite corner, so I couldn't see his body because a cabinet was in the way, and I'm thankful that I didn't witness his body because it probably would have affected me much more. My classmate Olea told me she had to use Nick's body as a shield once she saw he was dead immediately. Do you know how Akeen ended up being killed? I heard a story, unsure if it's 100% correct, but apparently he was running to his classroom, got to the door, and right before the girl could open it for him, he was shot in the head right in front of her on the other side of the door. Was there a moment where everyone collectively realized that something was wrong? I was in a school shooting in 2012, and I remember hearing a loud noise and scream, and for the first split second thinking it must have been someone dropping something and scaring someone, and then realizing that no, something is super wrong. As soon as we all heard about 7 to 12 loud shots outside of our classroom, we all looked at each other and darted toward corners. I can't imagine the looks on people's faces. I'm so sorry. Was that instinctive, or is that what everyone is instructed to do during exercise drills? School lockdown drills teach you to do that. Did you know the perpetrator at all? What was the general opinion of him / was he in school days previous to this? I didn't know him, but I remember seeing him around the halls freshman year. He was a very different individual. He would wear military boots, wear a hat, and always kept his head low, and was just all around janky, if that's a good word to describe him. Strong kid. I hope you manage to cope well, and get through the tough times ahead, and help the others too. Thanks for giving us your insight. It's very valuable and appreciated. How is your teacher, Mrs. Shamis, holding up? To be in a position of responsibility during an event like this, I can't even imagine. Thanks for doing this, and keep well. I saw her yesterday during the vigil. She was talking to two of my current teachers and some of my old teachers from freshman year, and as soon as she saw me she said, "Everyone, this child right here is a hero." And I was astounded, because I never thought that I could be looked at as a hero. I didn't save any lives. I didn't jump in front of a bullet. The only thing I did was try to calm and quiet people around me. That is no hero. That is just what you should do as someone in that situation. Are you friends with any of the people in critical condition in the hospital? No, but my great friend Daniela was one of the victims. She got shrapnel in her leg and was in the opposite corner of me. She went to the hospital, but is perfectly fine, doing better now. I told her how much I valued our friendship and we are meeting for lunch tomorrow. I'm glad you and your friend are okay and that you're not alone in this. Much respect to you, man. I was in high school just a few years ago, but I can scarcely imagine what it must be like to have that kind of experience. You have a lot of courage. Thank you for doing this, Amma. My own problems now feel a lot smaller today. I wish you nothing but the best moving forward. Yeah, same for me. I have fantasized it, you know, those what if scenarios everyone comes up with. I can't actually imagine what it's like, and I logically hope to never have to find out. The chance of it happening here is low, but still. What is the school doing to help you and other students struggling with this event? I'm assuming you have days off, but are there counselors and resources for you? Yes, yesterday the whole day they had counselors at the local park and the auditorium inside. I believe they are still there today. I haven't went yet, but I'm going to go later this weekend once I'm done seeing all the people that want to see me. At this same park, there was a vigil that was streamed, live to the world yesterday, that I was at. During the main event, I was standing with 4 of my classmates who were there with me in the classroom as it was happening. Was your classroom door already locked when the shooting started, or did someone lock it upon hearing shots? What did the teacher in the room do, and did they have time or attempt to give to any instructions to you and your classmates? To be honest with you, I was next to my teacher as soon as we got to our corner. She was bewildered. She didn't know what was going on. Me and her were actively trying to make sure people next to us in that corner were doing okay and were safe. We couldn't necessarily get up and go help people in the other corner, if you get what I mean. You and your teacher are very brave to do this. You may not realize it today or ever, but what you did, even something as small as to calm people down during a situation like this, is incredible. What was the last thought you had before the shooting and the first thought when the shooting happened? My first thought before the shooting was, nice, I'm about to finish this activity and put my computer away. Lit. My first thought when the shooting happened, am I about to die? Is this real? That is so fucking crazy how quickly our mindset can change. You would never think you could have those thoughts together within minutes. That's so incredibly scary. Hey Sid, I went to JPT, class of 2010, and had lots of friends at Douglas. This whole thing is so surreal, being how nice and family oriented our town is. Sending you a big hug. You might not get to this queue because you have so many, but I always thought those slits of windows in the doors were super thick with metal wiring to reinforce them. So did he literally just shoot that out then stick the gun through the hole, or how did he actually manage to shoot into the room? Sorry for your losses and pain. You're not alone. I don't know exactly, I had my hair down behind a desk. But what I can tell you is that he most likely shot the window out then started shooting in the direction of the corner where Nick and Helena were. I don't remember him even trying to open the door. Sid, firstly I'm glad you're okay, and I'm sorry for what you had to experience. What was the tone of the situation like when you heard the first couple of shots? Were people trying to convince themselves it was a firework or a car backfire? Or did you know immediately it was gunfire? And how did the students in your classroom react? Thanks. Well, no one even hesitated at all. We all got up and ran to a corner, but a few of us were muttering, is this one of those school shooter drills? A few seconds after that, the shots started going off into our room and I saw dust flying around the room and knew that this was serious. About a minute after the shooting stopped in our room, I look over to my right and in the opposite corner, a girl named Samantha had blood all over her face and her eye was swollen. I believe a bullet grazed her face, but she is luckily okay. I couldn't see Nick or Helena's body because a cabinet was in the way. All I can tell you is that I remember the first 10 or so shots going off right outside of our door, and the memory of the sound hasn't faded whatsoever. From reading some of your comments, you seem to be so poised and collected in the situation. Would you consider yourself to have always been that way, or do you think the situation brought something new out of you? Glad you're okay. I always thought about situations like this and how I would act. I always thought that I would freak out, but surprisingly, I was very calm but shaken while it was going on. I tried my absolute hardest to make sure everyone surrounding me was okay and made sure they stayed quiet so we could have a better chance of surviving, and made sure the girl next to me, Kelly, was saying the right things to 911 as she was talking to an operator. She was crying hysterically and couldn't even get words out of her mouth, so I was calming her down and telling her what to tell the operator because her thought process must have been in thousands of pieces just by the look of her face. Well Sid, you're the man. You probably helped your fellow classmates a lot more than you can imagine. I hope your recovery goes well. Stay strong. Sid the Kid has evolved into Sid the Man. This isn't even his final form. LMAO. Thanks for this, man. Hi Sid, very sorry about this tragic ordeal. I don't understand. If the boy that did the shooting wasn't a student, why was he allowed on the property at all? I may have misinterpreted this, but I saw on the news he wasn't allowed there with a backpack. But why would he be allowed there at all? Well, there's a gate in the fence to our senior parking lot near the bike rack that they open up in the morning and the last 30 minutes before school ends. The gate is about 150 to 200 feet away from one of the entrances of the freshman building. I believe he got dropped off by an Uber and just walked right in and went straight into the freshman building from there. What's crazy to me is that the same gate that he came in from is the same gate I was running out of once I got escorted by police out of the freshman building. Holy shit, he got dropped off by an Uber? Can you imagine being that driver? Yeah, he shouldn't feel too guilty though. He had no idea what the kid was going to do, and he just had the unfortunate luck to be the person to accept the fare. If he didn't pick him up, someone else certainly would. My wife and I have been alternating between learning more about the shooting and having to avoid coverage because of conspiracy nonsense about false flags and crisis response actors. I teach high school on the West Coast. What were active shooter drills like at your school? Thank you for doing the AMA. We have never had an active shooter drill at our school. We have just went over what to do if a shooter was there. Hide in corners not visible by the door. Hide behind solid objects. Go into closet. I'm so sorry that you went through this and were first-hand witness to such senseless violence and tragedy. As I'm sure you've been told 1,000 times, my thoughts, my family's thoughts, and those of our nation are with you. Please let us know if there is a way someone in the Midwest can help your community starting right now. Now on to my question. How did first responders on the scene handle the throng of innocent victims in the immediate aftermath? I read that the shooter tried to blend in with kids in an attempt to escape. Did the police seem to know quickly who was and was not a threat? Well, after we stopped hearing shots, we all stayed as quiet as we could, and I was trying my hardest to stay contained and made sure people around me in the corner that I was in was safe. I can't tell how long it was waiting for police to come, but we started hearing yelling outside of the room and down the hall, and we heard police, police. After a minute of everyone rejoicing, they finally got to our door and said, "Police, is anyone in there?" In which everyone responded, "Yes, help us." They then said, "Is anyone injured? How many of you are in there?" Before anyone could say anything, I screamed for injured. "There are about 25 of us in here. Please help." They said, "We are coming in. Hands up." When they came in, they got the injured out of the room immediately. After the injured got out of the room, they made us get up and walk out in a single file line. And when I was out of the room, I had to walk over a dead body right outside of the door just to get across the hall. I heard that the shooter went out toward the middle school next to us and tried to blend in with people running away from the school and went to the Walmart down the street, but I don't know a lot about exactly what he did after. What I can tell you is that it took about an hour or two after the shooting to find out who he was. I saw a few interviews of your classmates claiming multiple shooters. Did you see or hear anything to make you think there could have been a second shooter? Actually, yes, I do remember hearing some sort of spraying like a machine gun down the hall, but it sounded very faint. But my memory of that has somewhat faded. It's very possible it was a separate sound that had nothing to do with the shooting. Fellow school shooting survivor here, what we heard was the sound of the gun bouncing off the hard surfaces that reflect sound at the end of long hallways, making it sound like multiple people. What are your thoughts on the memes that circulate that make light of school shootings? How have your views on them changed since? Well, so far I have heard, not seen, that someone made a meme related to Fortnite, the popular game, where they showed one of the dead bodies with loot on top of it, like you would see when you kill someone in the game. When my friend told me this, I just broke down. I couldn't believe that someone would be so heartless and immature to even go through the time of making a meme like that. My biggest question is, you'll actually have a whole class dedicated to Holocaust history in high school? Yep. But it isn't only focused on the Holocaust, it also dives into the history of anti-Semitism and other historical anti-Semitic acts. We just did a test on Monday on a PowerPoint we went over in class. It went over the roots of the Holocaust and other interesting facts about some topics like the 1936 Olympics, Hitler's years before the Holocaust, etc. I got a 92. If you had one free wish about what politicians should do, what would that wish be? To stop letting the NRA control how our government handles gun laws. My friend who is a senior told me he learned in AppGov class that the NRA is the main reason for some elected officials even being in office, and that was crazy to me. I'm 17 years old turning 18 this November and I can't even explain how immature I'm, man. I don't think 18 years old is a proper age whatsoever for gun ownership. I've always wondered, if you are sent back to the same school, like how much time do they give you off to cope with what happened? It must be rough having to go back to the same building where this tragedy took place. I also wonder if you ever got your phone back. The building in which it took place is called the Freshman Building. It contains mainly freshman-based classes, and it stands on its own. It's a 3-story building. They are going to be taking it down in the near future and putting a memorial in its place. When we go back to school on Wednesday, we will be restricted from going in it. I'm going on Sunday. The school is opening back up to get my valuables, but I'm unsure if my phone will even be in good condition because my desk is literally in the middle of the class and my phone was on top of it, so it's possible it got shot. Didn't you mention a girl named Samantha that got shot in the face passing? I haven't seen her on any of the lists of victims, so I was wondering if she actually passed or if you'd confused her with someone else. I had heard rumors that she passed away, but they were false. My story from the day it happened is almost completely false at this point. I learned a lot of stuff the day after. A bullet did graze her face, though that's why her face was bleeding, and she had a swollen eye.